Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of Hudcast, Mr. Tim Hutner.
Thank you, Sergeant-at-Arms. You can now take your post.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual and participants. These views and opinions expressed do not represent those of the host or the show. The opinions in this broadcast are not to replace your legal, medical, or spiritual professionals. Welcome, and today on Hudcast, special guest, Scott Schara. Scott is the father of Gracie. Gracie Schara was a COVID victim. She was a hospital victim. There was all these victims that were put into a spot where the outcome was not favorable. Gracie had passed. Her father's on this mission to hold the people responsible for their actions. He's been doing a heck of a job, a heck of a bang-up job, because it's getting national press, it's getting all kinds of press about this, and they go to trial in June. So stand by, because Hudcast is going to have a on-the-phone interview with Scott, and we're going to talk about how things are going without hopefully tipping any inside information for the upcoming trial. I do believe they are in discovery now. I keep up on the emails, and some of you have asked for this update. But before we start, I want to read something here, and it was just brought to my attention that a dream is just a dream. A goal is a dream with a plan and a deadline. May Scott's dream plan have that deadline. Stand by, Hudcast. We'll be right back. The current healthcare system is not meeting the needs of real people. People are demanding better care, better options, and want results. So Gareth Care has launched and is advocating for those in the U.S. and internationally, as people are realizing the controlled system has not been there for them. If you want your own independent advocate that is not controlled by big corporations, call or text and enroll today to get your advocate for your needs, serving all ages. For any healthcare needs you might have, you matter. Here's how you get started. www.garethcare.com. That is GRAITHCARE.com. Call Gareth Care Direct at 469-864-7149. Call or text the questions to Healthcare Sucks and get an advocate with Gareth Care. 469-864-7149. Mention Hudcast and you will get an additional 10% discount on your first advocacy bundle. The staff at Gareth Care will take care of you. Remember, mention Hudcast and get that extra 10% off your first bundle of time. And this is all brought to you from Gareth Care. All right, thanks for coming back to Hudcast. Today, we had a somber Season 4, Episode 13 about Grace Schara and her fight to get health care. And we got an update and some information that we're going to have. Scott, are you with me? That's her father, Scott.
I am. Thanks, Tim.
And thanks for being on the show so rapid and early. I just wanted to get this out there because I'm getting some emails again. And I thought, okay, why not a better time? So tell us what's going on, because I've been reading some emails, and you guys have had just a number of things going on.
Well, we're hot and heavy into and what that means, there's a period of time that started November 1st of 23 and ends the end of March. It's called Discovery, March of 25. And in Discovery, the first step is interrogatories. They do questions back and forth, and then depositions. Our family depositions were in May of 24. Interestingly, during our family depositions, while I had attorneys flown in, we had scheduled doctor and nurses depositions the entire week following, and the defense demanded that they would not proceed with the doctor and nurse depositions unless I signed a gag order, because I've been very outspoken. And so we did a conditional, I guess you'd call it that, a conditional gag order. The condition was that the defense had to file a motion with the court so the judge would hear their case. And we finally did that. It was in July of 24. Cost $22,000 to defend that, my right to free speech, and the judge allowed us to release everything other than the video testimony of doctors and nurses and their experts. So ultimately, we've got all the doctors and nurses done. Our expert depositions are done, and we start their expert depositions now on this coming Thursday, February 13th. So that's where we're at. We will finish up the expert depositions, the defense expert depositions in March. Then some big things happen. We have the defense has to, well, they don't have to, but they're going to. They're going to file a request for summary judgment for the judge to throw the case out. And then we have 30 days to respond. And then the judge has set aside 3 days in May 19th, 20th, and 21st for the hearing regarding those requests for summary judgment. We are expecting, our legal team, which is 4 different attorneys, they're extremely confident. Everything is going our way relative to the evidence, the depositions. There's absolutely no reason, unless the judge is bought, that the entire case should not go to trial. The trial is scheduled for 4 weeks starting June 2nd. Our legal team thinks it will go about 3 weeks, but it could go 4. There's a lot of things happening. And our goal, of course, Tim, as you would expect, is to have the entire trial live streamed so that the country can see what is going on behind the curtain. This is a big opportunity. Our lead attorney has said, we had a big conference on Friday with all the attorneys, and he said this is the first case that he is aware of during the COVID era that is going to jury trial.
Wow.
That's where we're at.
Wow. Oh, holy cow. Yeah, I read some of that. Now, has anybody reached out to Court TV and see if they'll co-sponsor this?
That's a great question. Nobody has, no. I have a couple of people that I know from doing interviews that have agreed to the videography for the trial, and then also the live streaming for the trial. So we have that set, but nothing on a national basis like Court TV. That would be fantastic. So if one of your listeners knows somebody.
Okay, all right. Let's reach out to people. If you know anybody at the production team of Court TV and want to jump in, please feel free to reach out to me or Scott Schara. You can be found all over the web, but really, I would have you guys reach out and say, look, this is going on, and because this is good content for those guys, and with the injustices that have been done, why wouldn't they?
Well, that's a great question. Who's bought and who's not? Is Court TV part of the mainstream media? I have such a different way of looking at things now that God has been behind the scenes. So let me just give you a little backdrop to that, Tim. In July of 22, what God showed me was to not use Grace's story to expose evil. And I really didn't know what he was talking about then, but I do now. And if you look at Ephesians 5:11, it says, have nothing to do with the deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. All right, so that's the NIV translation. The NIV translation is the most popular in the United States, 450 million copies. Translation means to get a copyright on a translation, they have to make substantial changes to the starting point, whatever they started with. Mm-hmm. And, so I dug down in that word expose. Remember what God showed me? Don't use Grace's story to expose evil. So I dug into that word expose, looked at the Geneva Bible, the Tyndale Bible. These would be Bibles that have not been compromised in my belief. And they use the word rebuke and reprove, not expose. Those are a lot different than expose. Expose, oh, look at what's going on. This is all evil. Tell my friends how evil this is. Well, rebuke and reprove, you're standing firm on solid ground, the solid ground of Jesus Christ, and you're stopping the behavior. And so why would exposing be wrong? That really becomes the fundamental question. Why is exposing wrong? And it is because it fits into Satan's playbook. In Revelation 13, God shares Satan's dual nature, the Antichrist nature and the false prophet nature, and they work together. And we are duped by the false prophet nature. It's consistent throughout human history. We're always duped by the false prophet nature. We want safety, security, and comfort. And God warns us in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3, that we are duped by that. So exposing evil in the master esoteric Hegelian dialectic model, evil has to be exposed. That's the problem. The reaction is fear, and the solution, the chaos that comes out of the fear, the solution is Satan's other side, the false prophet system. And so this evil has to be exposed, even the evil of hospital murders, which has been kept under wraps so far for the most part by the mainstream media. But if the mainstream media starts exposing the hospital murders, that would create even more chaos and more demand for the false prophet Trump administration to provide an AI solution for hospital murders even. So this is what's going on. It's all by design. It's to get men to get a further step away from God. Man caused the problems that we have. So solutions designed by man will never fix those problems, Tim. And how you can tell that these man-made solutions are satanic is they never acknowledge how we got here. We got here by rejecting God, and so consequently, they never call for repentance. So anyway, that's my main theme. It's been the start of my theme was in July of 22, but if you look at my work on my podcast, Deprogramming with Grace's Dad, I really, I had a cursory knowledge of Satan. I really drilled it down to explain what I just got done explaining in 5 minutes.
And your podcast name is?
Deprogramming with Grace's Dad.
On all the carriers?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, well, we have no problem sharing information. This is the point we do this. This is why we do this, to get that word out. And have you noticed any, how would I put it, temperature of the courts now that we have new administration?
Yeah, that's above my pay grade.
Okay.
So I would, it isn't above the pay grade of the main attorney that's involved nationally. So he's involved heavily in the courts. And I don't have any faith in the court system. The court system is antichrist also. So whatever the temperature is, it's all by design. Remember, this system is part of Satan's world. So if the temperature is hot or cold, just realize it's all by design. It's all designed for the programming of the population. So even a win, just take Satan's perspective, and then we'll compare God's perspective to our own legal situation. So Satan's perspective of our lawsuit is exoterically, meaning for the common person, he wants us to win so that people have faith in the system. Esoterically, he also wants us to expose what's going on, as I said before, because then he has the opportunity to present a satanic solution to this evil hospital murder system. So that's Satan's perspective. God's perspective, God really doesn't care if we win or lose. That's not, he doesn't care about the action. He cares about the heart. And my responsibility through all of this, he knows, he's shown me you can't get justice in this system. That's obvious. To write a check for Grace's death, that's not justice. But the ultimate justice is being able to show what's going on behind the curtain so then people can choose again. We are zombies in this program society, and so people just blindly trust the white coat. They blindly take their meds. We have 4.2% of the world's population, Tim, and we consume 44% of the world's pharmaceuticals, 5 billion prescriptions annually. So, certainly God wants the people to see what's behind the veil so that they can come back to Him, and that's what I've got to be true to, not true to a antichrist legal system.
Yeah, I certainly understand why. Just with the new change of POTUS, that he's trying to bring God back into things like this, and it was a question that I had to ask myself. It's like, hey, I mean, things are gonna turn around, hopefully.
Well, the condition of turning around is repentance. We all we directly or tacitly approved every step of. So the steps, I just recently have documented these steps. I've been on a number of podcasts over the last couple of weeks, and I laid out 14 stakes in the ground that we have either directly approved or tacitly approved as a society and as individuals. So take Social Security. Social Security was passed in 1933. So, you and I weren't born in 1933, so we didn't directly approve Social Security. But if we now pay into Social Security and demand our money back when we retire, now we've approved it. And Social Security, interestingly, in 1997, another thing that we did tacitly approve or directly approve, the Clintons merged Social Security with Medicare and Medicaid. So now when you're 65, you take your Social Security, you're automatically on Medicare. And Medicare was designed, it was passed on July 30th, 1965, and it was designed to capture people into the medical industrial complex. There's 150 million Americans on Medicare and Medicaid right now. And the standards of care, and I'm putting care in air quotes, are designed to hasten death because they've convinced the population that the budget is out of control, which is another lie because we have a fiat currency. The budget's out of control. We have to rationalize medical care. There's too many disabled and elderly people. And so they write standards of care to hasten people's death. A simple example is the standard of care for cancer. Everybody knows it. It's chemo. Chemo has a 97.9% kill rate. Now merge the standard of care in the medical industrial complex with the Antichrist legal system. The Antichrist legal system says if the doctor kills somebody with the chemo standard of care, which happens 97.9% of the time, he has immunity from liability because he followed the rules of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and then his state licensing board does not remove his license because he did exactly what the state wants him to do. Ultimately, we have over the last 120 years, very specifically, we have sold our birthright for the illusion of security and comfort.
That's pretty heavy.
Well, you got me at my best time.
Yeah, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Mornings after coffee, I'm on fire.
How's the family doing with all this? I mean,
that's another great question. Our daughter Jessica, she is extremely in tune with what's going on. She's learning at a rapid pace. She really gets the lawsuit, and she will do a fantastic job as a witness. So that's great. Our grandsons and our son-in-law, her husband, they're of course all on board. They realize what we're up against, and they're extremely supportive. My wife, Cindy, she has, over the last 6 months, really got involved with a lady who has special needs. Strangely, Tim, because our story is out there, not just nationally, but locally.
Oh, it's out there.
We didn't know her. She ended up in the same hospital as Grace. The family contacted us, asked if we'd visit. we went into the hospital to visit her. This was last August, and we were in her room 10 minutes, and 2 armed guards showed up and escorted us out. And
Oh,
said,
boy.
You're not allowed in this hospital.
Oh.
Ultimately, as we have gotten to know this lady, they tried to kill her twice in a vent weaning hospital, and she has become a ward of the state. And we just filed the papers yesterday to transfer guardianship to my wife and this lady's sister, so she's not a ward of the state anymore.
Wow.
And so that's what my wife is doing. She got home about 1 a.m. this morning. She goes over and stays with this lady she's at a vent weaning facility, not a hospital anymore, in about 3 hours away, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. And she goes there 3 to 4 days a week. And so that's what has been occupying her time. She has a real gift at working with special needs people. And she's in her wheelhouse when she's over there, but I'm glad to have her home. And of course she's supportive. It just, she misses, Grace was her life.
Yeah.
And so, so she's got a lot of emptiness. So this has been a real blessing to fill that void. And I see this as part of, what does the rest of our life look like after this trial is over? What does it look like?
Well,
I don't know exactly.
There's a lot of help that people need out there. I mean, just what she's doing from last night. Look at that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's neat. It's neat to see it. You never know what God has in store. And, if we win the trial, that will facilitate. We've already said publicly we're contributing 100% of the money to our nonprofit. We started a nonprofit after Grace died.
Oh.
And we're going to contribute the money to the nonprofit so that the nonprofit then can be fully funded and do things like this without having it come out of our, we don't have any personal money right now. We're all in on this. Everything is going to the trial and the nonprofit. But, if we're successful at trial and we have a verdict, all that money will go into the nonprofit so we can do way more of these type of things.
Sure. Well, first of all, I got to make yourself whole again, and then you can start chasing these guys.
Well, it's all God's money. So we've chosen to not make ourselves whole either. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it's okay. It's all His. So.
Well, there's a lot going on, and I'm sure that many attorneys, they don't work on cheap, Yeah,
it's expensive, no doubt about it. But it needs. I get it. I mean, we have to have decent attorneys, and they have to get paid.
Right.
And they are really doing a good job with the system that they are in. So I'm very happy with their work. They have essentially adopted me as the 5th member of the team. Partially because of my background. My background is strategic planning. So I, as one of the attorneys said, you're kind of like the general manager of the baseball team. You make sure everything's covered, and you don't let anything slip through the cracks. And it's been real good to work with them as a team.
It also keeps you busy too with what you got going.
Oh boy, yeah. I'm anywhere from 75 to 90 hours a week. I have never worked so hard for so long on one project.
That's a pretty important project.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to be life-changing for a lot of people, not just you guys. That's how I see it.
That's our hope. That's what our hope is. I mean, we have, outside of the medical malpractice claim, we have 2 claims that are potentially life-changing. We have a battery claim and a declaratory judgment for the illegal do not resuscitate order. And those, winning those claims, that would have repercussions throughout the entire country. So that would be fantastic. And, that is something that the lawsuit can do to make a difference. Medical malpractice, those claims are not going to make a difference because medical malpractice is already acknowledged as the 3rd leading cause of death, Tim. So,
right.
yeah. So But these other claims have the chance to change behavior. So that's a win. Changing behavior is a win. If the doctors and nurses that are defendants in the lawsuit repent, that's a win. That would be a major win, because that means they're going to speak out even more than I would, because they know the literal details as to what's going on behind the curtain.
Right.
So wouldn't that be awesome if they start speaking out?
Huge. That'd be huge.
Right.
I have been, since our last visit, I have been listening to a lot of people and their family members having this DNR being chosen by the medical professionals. And without the family's knowledge, all of a sudden they're on a do not resuscitate, or it's changed, or it's modified, or it's by the doctor's discretion. And I'm thinking, hold on here. Why is this even a thing anymore?
I get it. I learned something in going through the guardianship classes with Cindy that applies to both Wisconsin and Minnesota and 13 other states. And that is, there's 15 states in the country that are what's called not next of kin states. So envision this, Tim. You go into a hospital today, you would expect that the hospital would call your wife. That just is like common knowledge, right? That would be walk around knowledge. Everybody think that the hospital has an obligation to call the next of kin.
Sure.
And what I found in going through the guardianship classes is that is true in approximately 35 states. 35 states have different laws on this. Wisconsin is one that does not have a next of kin law, which means in that example I just shared, the hospital takes over decision-making authority for you. So then they can do whatever they want, including putting a DNR on you. So how do you get around that? It's such a simple fix, and it's an urgent fix. Get a medical power of attorney and make sure the medical power of attorney who you designate is awake to what is going on and wants and is willing to take ownership of the responsibility that comes with being an advocate with the medical power of attorney.
So medical power of attorney.
Yes.
And
it's critical.
Your standard attorney can write that up?
Yes, and you can find them online. We don't post one on Gracie's website because it changes state by state, but there's a companion document called a medical directives document, and under the hospital rescues tab of Gracie's website, ouramazinggrace.net, you'll see a medical directives document, which I'd encourage everybody to do also. We paid our estate attorney to draft that document, so it's a sample document that anybody can use that supplements the medical power of attorney.
Simple, easy.
It's very simple and easy. And then you're not relying on the state statute. Why rely on an antichrist system? All legislation, it's all part of the same system. It's all, people are right now, we got to have legislation that people can visit in the hospital all the time. I mean, they're wasting their breath on legislation. You cannot contract morality. There is an agenda that is satanic, and the satanic agenda is designed to have us get trapped into one world religion and one world government. And to pull this off, they have convinced the masses that there's too many people on the planet and there's not enough resources. And the governments of the world are empowered to implement policies consistent with that satanic agenda. So don't waste your time on legislation.
Wow. That's kind of a lot going on. You have so busy. You're such a busy guy on this. I mean, I'm sure Grace would just be like smiling to whole heaven on that.
Well, if she was here, I wouldn't be doing this.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, no, I know she is. I do picture that at times. After my very first interview, Tim, my very first interview was December 13th of 21. I was on live TV on Newsmax, and my daughter called me after watching. She said, Grace is up in heaven watching Dad, and she's saying, "Way to go, earthly Dad." Grace called me earthly dad.
I remember that story. Could you run it again real quick for listeners?
Yeah. So 2 months after Grace died, I got called by Newsmax to be on live TV. Of course, I'm nervous as all get out. I'd never done an interview before, and now it's live TV. And so you start practicing. What do you practice for? Because they don't give you any questions, right? And so, but I'm still practicing. And I thought, I got to say these certain things. So I had all these phrases taped around my laptop, because we're using my laptop for the interview. And so about 2 minutes before the interview, the producer comes on to get me set for the interview. And he said, you need to move 3 feet back from your laptop. You're too close. I thought, oh my gosh, now I can't even read my cheat notes. And so, and so I used to wear a heart rate monitor at that time, and my heart rate's 125 beats a minute while I'm on this interview. And anyway, it came across fine. God had his hand on that, and ultimately that jump started all these interviews. Now I have over 1,000 in, Tim, and that's actually the easiest thing I do now is interviews. Anyway, after that interview, Jessica called me and she said, Dad, Grace is watching you from heaven saying, way to go, earthly dad. So that was pretty special.
And any of Gracie's friends chime in? They help at all? Or how does that work?
We have some real good friends that have been extremely helpful. Then there's people that we thought were friends. And I would say that's the majority. People we thought were friends that, they have rejected in different ways. Some, saying things like, why don't you get back to life like most people and things like that. And, it's not good, but that's okay. I mean, everybody's, I'm not, it's not the way I wish it was, but it just is the way it is. I mean, people are humans; they're sinful.
Because there's always that. There's always that element.
You understand?
Yeah.
Right.
You get the friends that are, hey, get back to work. I mean, why are you wasting your time? I mean, not that it's a waste of time. Don't get me wrong with that, but they can't understand the fight.
Correct.
And
yeah, I had a radio host. She called me after the show, so she asked me a question like that, and I said, "Well, how do I stop doing this when I know where a serial killer lives and works?" And she called me afterwards. She says, "You can't say serial killer on the air," and I said, "Well, I just did.
Yeah, now
it's the truth.
What are you gonna do about it?"
Right? It's the truth. And so, I mean, that's, how do you stop? I mean,
you scream, you jump up and down, you do what you're doing. My hats is off to you. This is a heck of a fight.
I really appreciate you, Tim. I mean, it's quite interesting. You just texted this morning, and here we are. And I really appreciate you taking the time for me.
Well, there's a lot of people that were listening to it, and they were asking questions, and I'm like, why don't we just hear it direct from the horse's mouth? Because you know everything about this. You're the John up and down guy. You're the guy.
Yeah.
So if they can hear it from you, I'm just reporting it. You're the one it's your story. You're in Grace's story.
Yeah.
So again, my hat's off to you. I'll do everything I can do on my side to make sure everybody hears what I record. And it's just, wow. So we've covered the family, we've covered their friends, we've covered your friends. Do you have time to get out and be Scott Schara again? I mean, do you ever have that, take the wife to a movie and be pseudo-normal?
Yeah, no, I did take time off during the Wisconsin deer hunt this year, so that was about as
off of the time as you had? Hello, Scott. Well, apparently we've dropped Scott on the call. So, yep, there it was. If he jumps back on, great, super. If he doesn't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up. incredible story. I got a tear in my eye right now. For a father to go through that, fight the system, fight the medical companies, wow. I bet every listener out there with a family member that's gone through this is going to be the same way, the same feelings. Okay, what are we at here? We are 31 minutes into this here. We're gonna kind of pull the pin at this, and we'll catch up with Scott at a later time. He is my shining light. I could only begin to fight like he could. The injustices that happened to Gracie. All right then. Wow, got to compose myself a little here. For Hadcast, we're gonna stop it here. I just need the time to think about this. And again, appreciate everybody. We are thankful for everything that's going on. This episode will go out on the 16th, 2/16/25, and we'll have another couple episodes in between there. We're working out, trying to get back to a weekly schedule, but today's one of those days where we just kind of stack them up. All right, Hudcast signing off. Be well. May God's light shine upon Gracie and his family. And Scott. Okay, that's it. Signing off. Be well.
And that's a wrap for Hutcast. Hutcast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for Hutcast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.